What's happening, people? And welcome to this week's episode of It's All Blakademik with your host, myself, Jordan Jarrett-Bryan. Now, on this week's show, we're going to be talking about money. Money. How to get it, how to manage it, how to grow it. Before I introduce my panel for this week's debate, another reminder for our socials. We're across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're not on those by now, please find our socials there and follow us. Here on YouTube as well, give us a subscription and you will find all of our content that's gone out so far, and you'll get a reminder and a notification when we upload our new content, which is now weekly. And finally, if podcasts are more your thing, go and find the Acast app. We're also on Spotify as well. So, to talk about money, I've got three experts, fantastic experts in the house this week. I'm joined, first of all, by Marissa Stevenson, host of the brand new podcast, F-Style, and also a money coach. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Cheers for joining us. And also, I've got here Emmanuel Ekuso here, who is a financial advisor. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you.
Good. Cheers for coming on the pod this week. And also, Chantel Shasana, he is a business coach. Are you well?
I'm amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Bang. I love it. I will start with you. Chantel, because from the get-go, I'll front up. When it comes to money and myself, I'm rubbish. So I'm hoping to learn something from all three of you guys as well. So I'm going to find this quite insightful and helpful too, and I hope many of our viewers do too. Let me start off with asking you the question, is trying to acquire money, is it more a mindset, or are there actual tangible and practical things that need to be and should be done in trying to work out how to, first of all, get money?
Okay, I actually think they're both as important as each other, but I do think that there is like a step process. So for instance, I believe that the mindset is key first. Now, a lot of us, including me, came from poverty communities. And when I say poverty, I don't just mean physical, I mean poverty mindset. And so when I was on my journey, I had a poverty mindset, which I had to overcome. You know, even within the last 24 months, it was always that money's really hard to get. Money's hard. It's really hard to get money. And money's not for people like us. And so because of that, I believe that the first step is we've got to get out of that mindset. Money is actually everywhere. And it's not necessarily hard as long as you've got a good plan of how you're going to get the money. And the thinking that money is not for people like us is so damaging. And it's about realizing that you are worthy and deserving of having abundance, having money. So the mindset is key, but we cannot overlook the strategy. And I know a lot of people who spend months, even years, working on mindset, but not enough on the strategy. And so it's like you've got to have a plan as well, a plan of how to acquire money. So for me, it's about getting a strategy in place, figuring out how much money do you want, and then reverse engineering, which is what I do. I teach all of my clients to do this. We're looking at a plan. So do you want £100,000? First of all, you're worthy of earning £100,000. It's not going to be hard as long as you got a plan. Okay, it's going to be hard work, but it's not going to be complicated. So for instance, you got to put the time in, right? But the steps to getting £100,000 is actually not complicated if you have a plan. So the mindset, I'm worthy, I can have this money, I'm deserving, but also a nice, clear plan of how you're going to get that cash. Reverse engineer, do the work, get it done.
I hear that.
So both parts are really important.
That's interesting. And what would you say, Emmanuel, are the biggest or the most common things that you hear from people you work with, difficulties in terms of people that want to acquire money? What are the regular things you hear from people that you work with?
I think most people, it's like what was just said in regards to their mindset. They're coming from a culture of not having. They're coming from a culture of maybe also not knowing how to make money, other than making money at work, what to then do with it once they've made it. And then they're also coming from a culture of consumerism, where we're very much targeted to be buyers and to be at the bottom end, buying as opposed to being owners and acquiring stuff. So I think those things putting away, and then money as well within the community is quite a taboo. We don't talk about, our parents don't talk about money. They don't tell us what accounts they have or where their money is. They don't tell us how they got a mortgage, if they even own the house we're in. So sometimes we assume our parents own their house and actually they're renting it from the council at a discount, and they've just sat on there and not done anything. So I think a lot of the time it's just we don't share these things that maybe other communities, they share it straight away, and they get their kids with money. This is council tax. You have to pay this bill. You have to do this. This is how this works. This is a bank account. You go and save it. And do you know what I mean? Those type of things are just passed down. But I think for our community, that's not there.
Different. That's really interesting, I find, Marissa, because I'm that person. I don't talk about my money with anybody. I don't tell anybody how much I earn. I never have done, because I see it as that's my business. I'm very uncomfortable about talking about salaries and wages unless it's relevant to a discussion. I don't do that. Is that dangerous in that in my house or where I've grown up, we don't talk about you earn what you earn, that's your business? Or should we be more expressive and honest about how much we earn, what we earn, and how we can maybe grow what we earn?
I think it's quite interesting, because I think if you think about things from an employment standpoint, often that is the way that people are geared to be. Don't talk about your earnings. Don't share that information with your colleagues. It's a tool for suppression, because actually when you don't know what people are earning around you for doing the work and the job that you're doing, actually you could be earning less and you do not know. I absolutely agree. We need to have more conversations about it, and not from a defensive standpoint. You know, I think the problem is that goes back to this point that Chantel's made about knowing your own value. When we start talking about how much you earn, people attribute that to, this is what I'm worth. Well, actually, no, it's not. This is how much I earn for doing a particular thing in a particular area. And that thing may not define who I am or what my value happens to be. But why it's important to understand that is because, for example, for your children, let's say, how do they understand the value of the things that are around them? How do they get to grips with understanding what they should be aiming for? You know, I'll never forget I'm going to put her business out there. One of my family members, I'll never forget, she met a guy and we were about 18 at the time and he was earning 18 grand. You would have thought that she won the lottery. She was like, yeah, it's 18 grand, you know. And the thing is, these days, we'd have been like, you earn 18 grand, okay.
Well done.
Yeah, nice. You know, because values change and things change. But if you don't understand what good is, or you don't understand where people are at within their journey, how can you actually understand whether you really are getting what you should get for what you're doing, or you are maximizing your worth? So I think it's about us having a conversation. I think education is key. And there's nothing wrong with us saying to our children, for example, I want you to earn more, and therefore these are the things you may need to think about, because for what I do, this is what it's valued at this current time. You know, we all remember when we were growing up and you'd say to your mum or dad, I want McDonald's. Where's the McDonald's money? But you didn't know what McDonald's money was. So how could you ever aspire to something if you weren't clear on it? And actually, I think that many of us are behind in our journey because of that, because what we had to do was to learn
by black people.
Yeah, okay. Because I feel like we've had to learn what we weren't taught. We've had to unlearn what we were taught. And then we start off in a space where all of a sudden, in some instances, we're not getting on the property ladder until we're in our 30s or our 40s, because we've kind of had to go backwards in order to come forwards.
Would anybody be an advocate of money lessons being taught in school? So if we can't be taught it in the home, is it something that maybe should be on the curriculum? Should we be taught?
I teach in schools. I teach young women and young girls in particular, because you'll be surprised how astute they are with money. One of the easiest lessons to give your kids is what I call the jars. Okay, so what you do with your particularly younger children, because you can have these lessons from as early as 4 or 5. You know, my nephew learnt the colours by the supermarkets, because he could tell you which one was green, orange, yellow. That's how he learned colours. If you can do that at that age, you can learn about money. And what you do is you just give kids jars. I always say one for charity and giving. Get them into the habit of giving something away. Energetically, it's good, and it's good for their well-being. They understand the concept then of giving. But then for other things, well, you want toys? Well, there's your savings jar. What are you going to spend at school, for example, to get your tuck money every day? And you break them up into jars, and you give children then a little bit of money. You allocate that to them and let them break it up and let them spend from their own jars. And what that starts to do is it creates value. Children as young as 5 years old can grasp that concept and start to become strategically good with money at a very early stage.
You were nodding on there as well.
Yeah, I just think that's phenomenal, because the whole concept, I do this whole kind of like pot system where when my money comes in, I don't just spend it. Everything, I have a strategy. So I'm even saving up already for my children's private schooling. I don't even have kids yet. And I have a pot for, I'm on the property ladder at the moment. So I have a pot for every single month. I'm always kind of allocating money to buy a new house. I have pots, my money's organized, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And when you can organize your money, so by the time my children are even in this world, their private education's already saved for. And these things are really important to me. So rather than just waiting till your children is old enough to go to school, which is a mindset of a lot of people, we kind of wait until it's too late. Preparation is queen, and having a plan for your money is beautiful. But just to touch on what I would teach children in school, to learn the difference between asset and liability as soon as possible. We live in a culture of liabilities. I know young boys who will rather spend £500 on a pair of trainers than put that towards buying his mum's house. His mum's house is probably a council house. To buy that might be really cheap, but he may not understand that. I mean, a lot of these homes, if your mum's been in that property for a long time, you're like, you can get that really cheap. You'll get a massive discount. And if they understood this, they may think, you know what, I might actually start saving up to buy my mum's house.
Which in turn might be their house.
Which will be their house. So I think the concept of teaching children from as young as possible about liabilities and investment would be really powerful, because now we could teach them how to invest their money rather than quickly running out and buying liabilities. I know people, young guys, who, if I were to count up their Gucci belts, Louis Vuitton belts, trainers, that's a deposit for a house. Easy. And if they knew this information when they were younger, they might be a bit more mindful. I'm not saying it will save everybody, because some of these young boys still want to wear their stuff. But it may encourage them to be a lot more mindful to learn about things like that in school.
Emmanuel, do you think our community, the black community, has a harmful attitude towards money? And I'm comparing it to maybe other communities. Or better question, what do you think our relationship as a community is like with money?
Yeah, I don't think we can call it harmful. I think we're very good at making money. I think it's what we put value on. So I think we value things such as how we look, our appearance, and a lot of that comes back from back in the day. We find it very important about how we look, how we present ourselves, because we consider ourselves coming from
kings and queens.
Exactly, and also coming from a place where we assume people will see us and think that we haven't got anything. So especially, I'm Nigerian, so every time they go to a party, there must be a new outfit. You must show I've arrived. And so you're paying money to sew new outfits. Where's this money coming from? This means that you can't save for your children. And we always do parties. Why do we have to celebrate your 51st birthday after we celebrated your 50th? Do you know what I mean? It's a lot. We don't need to, but we've got to do it. And we're not going to just do a little in the house. We've got to have a whole,
the biggest party of the year.
We've got to do everything. You've got to dance in with your entourage, all in a new color. Then your guests got a separate color. So it's not about money. For us, we make money. We've been making money. We've always had a thing of working hard and making money. It's what we value our money to be. And for other communities, they all dress plain and own property. And they'll dress plain, and you look at them. I mean, some of my richest clients, if you saw them,
you wouldn't even know.
And they sat on the floor, you might give them a $5, and they're millionaires. Do you know what I mean? They're millionaires. But the point is that they don't put the value in that, because what they put their value in is called online banking. And when you go on online banking, it's going to tell you what you really have. You see, we put value in Instagram, where you're going to live that fake life and you're going to take a picture outside somebody else's house or next to somebody else's car. Well, other people put value in online banking. And I think when we get to the point of coming and saying, look, forget what we see on the outside, I'm comfortable with who I am on the inside. And when we put that value on who we are on the inside, we can then look at how we can build for the next generation and so forth.
So let's talk about saving now, because I'm the worst saver. I've never really clocked saving, and I've always been told by my gran, you got to save a little money, money. I'm just not very good at saving. Is that because I'm Jordan and I'm just very ill-disciplined, or is that because I've not had the grounding and the teachings from when I was young of how to save in the process? Because in theory, it's not difficult. You earn £100, you put 10 of it away, but doing it and not spending the money is a different thing.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing, and because that's something I do with my clients, and I charge them a fee. And sometimes when people look at it, like, how can you charge someone a fee to teach them how to budget? They could learn this by themselves. But the point is,
you're going to charge me afterwards.
Of course. And the point is that when I do it, you're gonna look at it different. It's about how you look at it, because a lot of people, when it comes to saving, you see it as a sacrifice. You see, I'm saving. Oh no, I can't go here. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so because of that, what happens? I have a lot of clients. You'll save up a portion of money, and you'll just go and spend it on something ridiculous because you've killed yourself to save that. But if you actually budget it, you can actually save without killing yourself and still enjoying yourself. And so when you get to that point, and also it's about your priorities. What do you want? I always talk about needs versus want. So you might want a Gucci belt. You might want but what you really want is a house. Do you know what I mean? You might want to go on holiday to Dubai, but what you really want is to buy an asset or to save for your kids' private school. That's what you really want. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sacrifice the small ones for the bigger one. And what that means is that you might still go on holiday. You're just not gonna go to Dubai. You're not gonna go to Belgium on a Eurostar. Do you know what I mean? Off season. So you're still gonna get a holiday, and you're still gonna get to go away and get that rest. But you're just not gonna spend thousands of pounds to do it, because you've got a bigger picture. And so that's where people need the help, rather than just saving into accounts. That's simple. It's about actually putting your mind to it and why you're doing what you're doing, and not being caught up by, I always say half price. People say, it was 50% off. If you haven't budgeted for it, it's still 50% too much. Do you understand? It's that mentality.
Point.
And I don't buy into the concept that as a culture we don't understand saving, because actually when our parents were buying their properties in the 60s and the 70s, it was the partner system that was doing that.
It's true.
And for people that are not familiar with that, it's a form of saving. And it's something that actually people do. And within our community, we're very effective with. It's the point that you make. It's about what we use for it. So, for example, people who talk to me about wanting to invest, but are afraid that they may lose their money, which of course is a reality if you're going to truly invest, is I'll say to them, okay, then, well, why don't you join a partner? I mean, I run a partner purposefully for this. Join the partner, use your partner money to invest, because you won't miss it, because it's part of your saving strategy already. But actually, instead of putting it in the washing machine or let me redecorate my living room, why don't you put it into something that has the ability to start to earn for you? And start small. So, I think often when we start to think about investment and saving for investment, we think, I need 10 grand, 20 grand, 100 grand. No, you don't. There's apps these days. There's all sorts of tools that you can use to start really small. And I'll say to people, even if you've got £20 a month that you can start to put away. Okay, it's not going to make you a millionaire, but it's a start. It creates the habit. And then when you build that habit up and when you start to see that making a little bit of money for you, you suddenly think, oh yeah. And if you know that you're the sort of person where you're going to look at the online banking, see the savings account and get tempted to go and buy something, don't put it there. Put it somewhere else. You can easily put money into separate accounts or building societies or spaces that you don't touch. And before you know it, it's building up. You don't miss it. It comes out of your wages or your earnings like PAYE. It's the same sort of thing. But the difference is now is that you're paying yourself and you are allowing yourself to earn from that space rather than you paying into the tax system or something else. And, I always say to people, a good thing if you don't want to lose much, but you want to start to get into the habit, an ISA. Simple thing that you can start to save in. And if you save in the right ISA, there's lots of incentives that the government say, we will match this, we will match that for you. So it's a way that actually you can start to get some of your money working for you more so than it has been the case before. But we do know how to save. It's just what we do with the savings.
So that's kind of how to put some money aside, Chantel. What about people that maybe have some money and have some savings? They're like, okay, I've got this amount of money in my account. I want that money to make money. What are some of the tips that you can offer that can help people's money make money?
Okay, so one thing that I've noticed, a lot of people hear the concept of investing and get a bit overwhelmed. They think it's stocks and trades or things like that. And that can put people off because it's a whole world out there. What people don't realize is that you can have a little skill and make money from that skill in no time at all. So for instance, my sister-in-law, she decided 2 weeks ago that she's going to start a little side hustle. She went on a nail course and learned how to do nails. The course was £25 on Groupon. She bought some stock. She spent £100 or £200. She's already made the money back because she did my nails 2 days ago. She's done my mum's, all my sisters, all of her friends. I dropped her to a friend's house yesterday to do her nails. So you can think, right, I'm going to do a little something. I'm going to maybe go on a little course to learn how to do it, buy a bit of stock. All of a sudden now you're investing. And so if the kind of stock and system is a bit overwhelming for you, look within and say, you know what, I can make some money from that skill that I have. So that's one way that I would encourage people to start. So for instance, myself as a coach, I was always, that positive, motivational person. For years, people would always send me messages on social media for advice. Then I became a coach. I'm now monetizing what I was doing for free before. I now run loads of events, workshops, where before I was just, putting out positive quotes on social media. But now it's how can I bring people together, do what I love and get paid to do it. So I think when you can always be looking for money opportunities, your money will grow when you're monetizing something that you're probably doing anyway for free. But now let's start getting paid for it. And the next step to that is be okay with the money conversations. What I'm trying to get at is a lot of people, they start trying to monetize something that they're doing for free and feel bad about charging people. You need to break out of that. You need to have your prices of your services and stand and say, this is my price and I'm okay with it, and be okay with telling people how much you're charging. One of the things that I've learned with so many people who I coach is that they're so uncomfortable about talking about money, talking about their prices. Break out of that. Break out of it, be okay with it, and you will make money very quickly. It happened to me. I started making money very quickly when I learned to be okay with speaking about how much I'm going to charge you.
Isn't the difficulty with some people though that if they're brave and this is what I do, this is what I should be charging for it, they may put people off. So I might have less clients. Oh, you're charging that now. Yeah, maybe. Do you know what I mean? That's a concern from some people.
But it comes back to a lack of worthiness. Got to know your worth, and if you don't, you will be kind of ruled by a sense of fear. If I charge that, people aren't going to want me. No, people will want you. That happened to me and some of the clients who I help. You get to a point where you need to raise your fees. Because if you want to get up that ladder, you can't keep charging those small fees. As a coach, my fees were really low when I first started. That was fear, lack of worthiness, not realizing that people would want to pay me. I raised my fees. You still get clients, but now you get high quality clients, people who actually want to pay and invest in you. So there's no lack of, there's always clients out there, and you got to just accept that and be okay with that.
Yeah, because I was going to say, and be okay with people saying, I don't want to work with you then. That's okay. And the reason being is because, I can tell you that from when I started out in the business world and helping to grow businesses, I started with new starts and startups. And the reality of the matter is what they can afford and their ability is very different to the clients that I work with now. And I'm actually okay. For me to work with you as a startup, it may sound prissy, but you've got to be really good. I've got to really know that you're on your game, because I'm at a stage where if we can't see marked progress within a 6-month period, not interested as having you as a client, and I don't want to have that relationship. And the reason being is because I'm about progress and about moving forward. And if you've come to me to build your business, that's what we need to do. We need to not sit here having coffee and little bits of conversation. We have lunch appointments for that. So I'm very okay with people saying to me, actually, that's outside of my reach. And for 2 reasons. Part of it, as Chantal says, is yes, they're investing in you. But actually, when you're coming to me, you're investing in yourself. What I'm there for is to make you achieve your dreams, not what I want to achieve. So if you're not willing to put that investment in you, I'm okay with that, because that also means that when I put you to the test and make you do the things that are uncomfortable, which sometimes to grow, we have to be uncomfortable, that means you're not going to want to do that either. And that way we are wasting each other's time.
Emmanuel, what are some of the things that annoy you that you hear from Black people in particular in regards to money? What are the kind of, we spoke earlier on about the kind of lack of education that many of us have. But what do you often hear from a lot of your clients, people you work with, that often comes up that makes you want to eat your fist?
I think the number one thing for me is that I don't have enough money to invest. And so for me, it's like, okay, cool. You don't have enough money, but there's two things. There's no investment I can do to make you have more money. If that existed, you probably wouldn't find about anyway. The rich would just be doing that anyway. So let's think about it this way. You've got two choices. You can either decrease your outgoings or increase your income. That's the only real way. That's the only real way we can make you make more money. And then when we look at your outgoings, you can't afford to invest, but you got every Sky channel. I don't understand. You got every Sky channel. Do you need every Sky channel?
And the new iPhone.
What's wrong? Do you know what I mean? You got the iPhone and you're paying £100 or something.
And a brand new weave every month.
So these are the things that.
Are we expensive? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So these are the things where it's like, yes, you haven't, but no, you have. And the things you don't have a budget. The thing that another thing that annoys me is that people will get to the 15th of the month and run out of money. But you knew all your bills. You knew how much you were getting paid. How can you be shocked? Where does the shock come from? It's the same thing every month. So how we get to the 15th? Oh, I've run out of money. No, you knew what was going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's those type of things that it's like there's just no plan. You haven't got a plan, and so you're just allowing it to go on. And then the final thing is that people do the same thing and expect a different result. As we know, that's insanity. Mm-hmm. So it's that you want change, but you're not prepared to make the change. But you keep complaining about how you want to change the situation.
Do you feel millennials have a different attitude towards money and finances than generations gone by? And if so, better or worse?
Oh, good question. I think it depends. Some millennials are engaged and some are not. So we have some millennials who are up on all the apps and Monzo and all of these type of things, and they're really good with in regards to looking at their budget, and they just don't know what to do with it because they haven't been taught, because they don't get that education at school, and that's fine. We can work with that. But we have other millennials that they're against the system and money is the devil and money's evil, and do you know what I mean? So they don't want anything to do with it, and so in that sense, again, they're falling behind. And then I think, again, like Chantel said earlier, is in regards to what they want to do with their money. So we have a big thing about cars. So I remember reading a study about, in America, the number one purchasers of Mercedes are black people. Yet the number one earners of money are not black people.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where we have a big thing of, when I grew up, BMW, black man's wheels. It was a big thing, you know what I mean, in the culture. And so, again, these are assets that are going down in value. From you drive it, from wherever you pick it up from, get it to home, you've lost money. And then you put finance on top and interest. So these are these are the investments that we're making, but we don't understand what we're doing because we haven't been educated. And so that's, again, we put ourselves at a backward step. And then finally, it's about, my parents can't help me. That one really gets on my nerves because, again, a lot of our parents are first generation. So your parent can't maybe not be giving you money, but they're now letting you live rent free. So all that money that you're making, that's a resource. Yeah. So your parents are giving you the only resource they have, which is allowing you to stay at that home for free. And you're spending it buying £200 bottles of Moe that are £40 in the club, and then you're pouring it on your watch. This is for me. For me, these are the things that frustrate me. So when you talk about when black people talk about I can't do these, I'm just giving you basic things that we could all change and be able to invest.
Do you know, for me, it's the lack of willingness to learn. None of us were born with the knowledge of how to invest necessarily, how to buy a house, how to do these things. We're not born with that knowledge. You have to educate yourself. Yeah. The starting question I ask most people is just, what is money? And you won't be surprised, I'm sure, at how many people cannot understand or answer that basic question. Yet still we engage with money on a day-to-day basis. And fundamentally, it is a medium of exchange, nothing else. It's really not that deep. In fact, you can take it deep and start talking about money doesn't exist. And for some people, that blows their mind. But it doesn't. But it's about what you know. And what I get upset about is people who come to me and go, right, so I got a little £100. I want to invest it. Yeah. I don't want to lose any of my money, but I want somebody else to take this money and make me more money. I'm like, that's a recipe for cussing, because you know that you're going to cuss off that person because they don't come back to you with what you expect, but you're not willing to read a book, or even these days, just watch YouTube. In 5 minutes, you can learn about pretty much anything in the financial market, at least a basic for you to know whether it's something you want to do or not do. But it really frustrates me when people won't learn but expect somebody else to do it for them.
Couple quick ones, guys. Black banks. Do we need to be investing more in our own banks, so as a community, our money stays within our own grasp, or is that limiting ourselves to the wider pool of money that's out there?
We start by buying from each other.
Yeah, we start with that. I would rather that over the black banks.
Okay,
definitely.
And I don't know why. Maybe there's not enough information, but am I comfortable to put into a black bank? I feel that if we had them and I knew who was running them. And I just think that's another
They do exist.
conversation.
No,
There
are definitely some.
But I'd love to learn more about
they
them.
don't have the clout that the big banks will have. But that's because of size. And that's with anything. But I think you touch on a really important point. Trust.
The trust.
Trust is at the basis of any relationship.
Yeah.
And when it comes to money, people feel very personal about it. It's a trust thing. So let's start trusting each other by spending with each other.
Yeah.
Let's start there. Because when you do that, then actually you don't have to know who the guy, do you know who runs Barclays? Like, are you friends with him? But it doesn't stop us from necessarily going there. Yeah. So we don't have to know that. But what we have to learn to do is build a basis of trust. And I think when we are buying from each other and we're transacting with each other, then we get into that habit.
And I think that's really big in regards to trust in the black community, because from young we're taught not to trust one another. I mean, I remember, auntie will come and give you a sweet. You got to look at your mum to see whether you can eat that or not. So already we've got that from a childhood. Anything outside of the house you might not eat. You might have you go to church and they might give you something. You go home, your mum say, don't eat that, put that in the bin. It might be poison. You know what I mean? These are the type of little things little things that we've taken, and so we've already not trusting one another. And again, I think the best place to start is in business, is to make that conscious effort of, okay, I want to do something. Where can I find that in our community? Does it exist?
And just finally, guys, open to whoever. A lot of people, when I was preparing this show, said to me, this is a really good idea for discussion, but not everyone wants to be rich. But there's some people want to be successful. They don't really care about being necessarily really wealthy. What advice can you give to people that aren't necessarily focused on earning big money, but they want to be successful? And is there a significant difference between the two? I think there is, but I don't quite know why. But is there a difference between being successful and being wealthy?
I think there is a difference, but here's the thing, and I speak for women because I tend to work with a lot of women, whether it's to build their businesses or to help them achieve their financial goals. And I find with women, they're very apologetic. Oh, it's not about the money, it's about the passion. But here's the thing, women are 80% of the financial decisions that happen in the world. We are the ones who spend the money that comes into the household, even if we're not the ones earning it. So on that basis, actually, it's not so much about wealth. Some people don't need £1 million. Maybe you don't. But if you're actually trying to do something meaningful in this world, you do need something. And I think that it's just about putting it into perspective and recognizing that money is a tool. It's not the root of all evil. It's not all of these rhetorics. It's just a tool. And if you really want to make a difference, if you're really trying to achieve something, you need it. For you to do what you're doing today requires some money. And you may not want to be a millionaire, but you're going to need resources. So I just think it's about us being clear that in order to be successful, we need resource. But you may not need lots and lots of it.
So do you think that when people say, I want to be successful, they're almost, what they really mean is I want to be rich, but they feel almost ashamed to say I want to be rich?
You don't have to be rich, though. Rich is a bit of a high word. You don't have to be rich. I'm a big believer that, financial freedom is about being able to choose to work rather than have to work. Okay. And so for me, it's not about being rich, but I think one tip that I would tell anyone is multiple streams of income. I think the biggest problem we can have, especially in our community, is about going to work for someone and that's where we're going to be and we're going to work up the ladder and you only have that one stream of income. And having that one stream of income is limiting your ability to then invest in other things, your ability to do other things. And then you're especially with Brexit, technology, all these things, if you've got one stream of income, you're most likely, who knows what job you're going to have, if it's even going to exist, if you're even going to be able to do it. So you have to have income coming from different places, and then that allows you the freedom to choose what you do as for work.
A final word, Chantal.
Yeah, I'd like to say, for me, what helped me is don't be a hypocrite about money. I believe that a lot of people think it's the right thing to say, I don't want to be rich. And because within our communities, when I was growing up, people who had money we looked at as evil and bad, and so it was almost embarrassing to admit that I want lots of money. And so for me, it's don't be a hypocrite. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting abundance, with wanting to be free, with wanting to afford to put your kids into private school, with wanting to own a really nice house. So if you say, I want to be successful, but I don't want to be rich, I almost think that saying I don't want to be rich is unnecessary. Like, why do you even have to mention that anyway? Because when you're successful, money is a byproduct. So don't limit your level of success. Be open to being abundant. Don't be a hypocrite and let money flow.
Agree. And I also think there's a difference between, I suppose, being rich and being wealthy. We talk about being rich, but being wealthy is when I suppose your kids are looked after rather than just, I can afford the most expensive car in the car lot.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's the difference.
Generational wealth.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes, yeah. I hear that. You're involved in an exhibition coming up soon. Tell us a little bit about it quickly.
So we have Black Investor 360 coming up. It's basically an event that gives you the full circle when it comes to wealth. So we look at wealth management in more detail, how you can invest, how you can save, how you can grow your money, but also how you can protect yourself and your business and your family and the wealth that you're creating. We also have looking at investing, so how you can get funding for businesses, because that's a big thing for us. We don't have, a Donald Trump that has a, one small loan of £1 million. So how can, if I've got a business, how do I get funding? How is it available to me? A lot of us don't know where to go in the avenues. That will be discussed on the day as well. And then finally, diversity in employment. So looking at a lot of big companies are looking for people in our community to come into their businesses. And a lot of the time we put a barrier and say, well, they don't want me, or I don't have that skill set. So because I did an English degree, that means I can't work in the city as a banker. But yes, you can, but you're not going to apply. And so we're stopping ourselves early from the beginning. So it's about looking at that.
Where can people find more details?
So it's happening in London, in the Olympia on the 12th of September. If you want more details, www.blackinvestor.com.
Perfect. Guys, that was great. Thanks for your time. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And once again, do not forget to subscribe to us on this channel here, YouTube, also across all of our socials. And we are also we're a podcast even. Go check out the app, Acast, and follow us also on our Spotify channel as well. Until next week, peace.